Hello guys, in this video I'm gonna do my nails because they look really rough. It's end of January, so I'm gonna do Valentine's Day's nails, and I'm so excited because this time I'm gonna make a little bit more effort. So I start my nails with sanitizing. It's always very important, and you can see in the background I already sanitized everything I'm gonna be using, and I always start with pushing back my cuticles. But you can see I lost my thumb nail. It happened like an hour before I started to record, so I was a bad girl and I just ripped it off. If you push back the cuticles, it's actually helping you later on when you work with your cuticle drill bit. But first, I always start to remove the extra product I have because I can save time and steps because I don't have to go back again later down the line. I hate to do this part because on the left side, it's always very hard for me to do. So I usually finish up with simply just my hand file. And that's why I push back my cuticles because it makes it so much easier to put my cuticle drill bit under the skin and always do one side at the time. And once I'm done with all my 5 nails, I would do the other side. You can think I'm doing it a lot more, but because I speed up the video, it looks a lot, but it's actually not. And you can tell that it makes it easier to cut the cuticle later down the line. So every steps I make, it actually makes sense. Tell me in the comments if I'm right, because the pinky is always the hardest. Actually, for me, it's the hardest. Then I'm gonna shape my nails and buff the surface because I want a good grip. And I'm gonna do this with all my 5 nails. I don't actually wanted to bore you with this kind of part because this is the most boring one ever. Then now I removed all the dust and I put on my dehydrator, and I always make sure it dries properly. Then acid-free primer in a thin coat, and I make sure the primer covers the whole surface of the nails. And this is the gelish base coat I use, but I actually hate the brush that comes with it. So I use a different brush. And I always make sure I apply an even coat on the nail plate that covers the whole surface of the nail plate, and I cure it separately. By the way, I never use a clear coat because it makes it a lot harder to apply colors. So if you see any video from me, it's always a nude base coat because it is so much easier to work with. And if you apply a color coat on the top of it, it will cover a lot better than if you used a clear coat. Tell me in the comments if you like to use a clear coat or if you like to use a nude base coat. I'm curious what you're using, guys. I find something in the gel, so I took it out before I put it in the lump and it came out really well, so I'm glad. And also it happens that you put some product on the skin, so before you put it in the lump, you get your little stick and you remove it. So for Valentine's Day design, I decided to use this beautiful vibrant pink, and I'm gonna start the color on the thumb, the color itself, so I'm not gonna mix it with anything. And I'm gonna add a little bit of white to it, and it's gonna be a little bit lighter than the color on the thumb. And once it mixed properly and it's cohesive, I'm gonna put it on the index finger. And after I'm done with this, I'm gonna obviously cure it in the lump, and I'm gonna add a little bit more white. So basically, I'm gonna create a huge ombre, that's how I call it, and it will go on the middle finger. So each time I mix a little white, it becomes a little bit more lighter. So basically, it's gonna be a huge ombre. I did this kind of designs before, and my clients love it too. And I think it just makes everything pop better than if I just used one lighter shade or a darker shade. And the pinky will be the lightest color. And in this case, I had to put a little bit more white because that shade was nearly exactly the same like the previous one. So when you can see that it's a lot more lighter, I just applied it on my pinky, and I had the big ombre. And after this, I can start to work on the design. Obviously, it's going to be a heart. And I'm going to use the same color what I used on my thumb because the background and the design itself should have a contrast, because if I use a too similar color, you wouldn't really see anything. And I decided to do a little bit of shadow, so I got like a dark violet color to do some shadows on the right side of the heart. That violet color is not a gel polish, it's an art gel, so the consistency is really creamy. And I used the one stroke brush with some top coat because the top coat is transparent, so I used that as a second color. And now I'm going to do some highlights on the other side, and that's how the heart will look more a little bit 3D. And you don't have to worry about this part. If you try to do this design, you just have to apply really, really thin coats. And I thought the background was too boring, so I decided to pick up a bit more of the shadow color, and I went around my nail with it. I wasn't happy enough with the highlights, so I decided to put a little bit more on with the white. And of course, you cover everything with top coat and cure it in the lump. And I decided to put a little bit more gold foil around it to make it more interesting. And obviously, you have to cover this with a top coat again, otherwise, your foil would come off. And getting to the end now, and the only other thing I decided to do is a very, very thin cute, nice outline of the heart, because it's gonna make it look more pop at the very, very end. And guys, this is the end result. I hope you like this video and like the design. Thank you so much for watching, and see you in the next video. Bye.